It was always going to be a tough game against Sean Dyche's Forest in their first game at home, but not really for the reasons I expected. Frustration. That's the buzzword for me after what was a tough game. Let me run through all the key takeaways from that match for Ruben Amorim, because there are plenty of talking points after that. So now the dust has settled on that draw at Forest. Are you happy with it? Or are you frustrated? Nah, probably the wrong way to describe it, really. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Sound like my parents when I was at school. But I'm going to run through the game, what we learned. You can let me know what you think in the comments below, as you always do. But I have to start and keep repeating this on how inexcusable those concentration levels were from United. That first half, it wasn't a particularly pretty game from United, but I thought that we created some good opportunities. I thought Forest had the majority of the good football going forward, which I didn't actually expect. But we got the goal. So to go from that situation, and I said this in my match reaction, and I'll say it again, to come out in the second half, in those 5 minutes, to just be so switched off. And right here, I'm not picking Delo out to say that everything that happened against Forest was his fault. But this is the second goal, right? This is the knockdown from the corner. Look, I think it's Savona, whoever their right back was, behind Delo. Look how flat-footed Delo is. Not even slightly anticipating that there might be a knockdown from a corner when you're defending on the edge of your own sit. What else are you ever going to be anticipating as a defender? It's just inexcusable from him. It was inexcusable from United in those 5 minutes to concede 2 goals. And that's something that Ruben Amorim will be angry and frustrated about. However, and this is the thing, it's kind of the good thing about doing these videos is the day after you can look back and go, do I feel the exact same? He was frustrated that we lost control of that 5-minute period, which ultimately brought Forest back into the game. But he's happy that United came back from that position to get the draw. I suppose in the same way that we came back to win the game against Liverpool at Anfield. Would we have done that in previous years? I question that. Would we have come back from that situation against Forest? I question that. And right now, United, you can see there, look at the form table, the second most informed team in the league. We've got 10 out of our last 12 points. It's just that we had that game. Did we have... I don't think we had that game by the scruff of the neck at any point, really. To go in 1-0 up at half-time, we're all like, yeah, man, I'm taking that. 100% I'm taking that. But to let it slip out of our hands just in such a amateur way is really a big bugbear. However, again, from a positive perspective, United's threat from set pieces this season, I didn't quite realise how big it was. So Man United have now scored 8 goals from set pieces this season, which is second only to Arsenal. We've scored 17 goals in the league this season, and 8 of them have been from set pieces. Casemiro's header, Ahmad's volley, Maguire's header at Liverpool. I can't remember what the other 5 were. But it's good to see that United are building a threat from set pieces. I'm going to speak about United's lack of threat from open play against Forest, but at the very least, we're having a threat from set pieces because there's certain games. The Forest game is a perfect example, right? Because we didn't have enough from open play. However, when you have a set piece threat, and by the way, who followed me? Who put a 5? I put a 5 on Casemiro's score header. I don't know why. My smarty senses were talking to me. It's a good choice. Although I did put some money on Šeško to get a header on target, and that didn't happen. And that's a perfect segue to speak about our lack of threat from open play. What do you think it was? Do you think it was that Forest didn't play as banked in their own half as I thought they were going to? I actually thought they had the better of the football, really. And I didn't expect Cunha, Šeško, and let's be honest, and Bumo as well, to have the sort of quiet game that they had. We still scored 2, but they were from set pieces. I don't particularly think that we created too much from open play. I wouldn't say it's something to worry about, but if anything, I suppose it's a good thing that United still managed to score 2 goals, despite the fact that all front 3 had really quite a quiet game. Look at that as a positive and a negative, depends which angle you want. Look, someone I need to speak about after that game. I spoke about him in the build-up to the game, but Elliot Anderson, right? If Carlos Baleba's game at Old Trafford was like an audition. Like, okay, what's he going to do now that he knows all the eyes are looking at him? What's his performance going to be like? And it was awful. Elliot Anderson was fantastic. And everything that I've now learned about Elliot Anderson over the last couple of weeks, like researching, watching more of his games, etc., the way that I described him going into the game was that he is an all-action midfielder. And that performance was all action. Off the ball, really posed such a constant thorn in the side to like Cunha and Mbumo, everybody on the edge of his own box. Then from a progressive perspective, bringing the ball out. Then the passing range, whether it was that fizzed ball out that led to their first goal, or whether it was a ball down the line, I think it was to Savona in behind. Fair play, Elliot Anderson. Having looked at all three of them, Wharton and Anderson and Baleba, I think it's where United are going to look when it comes to signing a midfielder. He's the one on paper, I think, that is the most all-action. That's what I think anyway. But one more thing. Can we just speak about that Ahmad goal? Can we watch it again? Bang! That was an absolute beauty from Ahmad. Ruben Amorim spoke about him after the game. Sort of, he's saying that he's still got a lot more. He didn't say growing up, but he feels like he can get so much more. You know, that's Ahmad's first goal this season. I didn't quite realise that, actually. I think Ahmad's had obviously had the family bereavement. Prior to that, it was a bit up and down. But I suppose you saw the good and the bad of playing, and I said this in my match reaction, remember this. The good and the bad of Ahmad playing at right wing back. The good was that goal. The bad was him kind of being held at arm's length by Morgan Gibbs-White for their first goal. You're going to have a bit of a weakness if you're going to get Ahmad defending the back post and crosses coming in. That's kind of always going to happen. But overall, I'm delighted that Man United have got 10 out of our last 12. The fact that we're angry at that, not angry, as I said, it's the wrong way to describe it. But the fact that we're frustrated and disappointed is a reflection of progress. But Ruben Amorim is going to be pissed, as he should be, that these players did the hard work in the first half, got the goal from the set piece, but came out in that second half and were just, boom, switched off. And it took 2 goals from Forest for them to wake up and go, oh, actually, we're still in a game of football. My bad. Still got a second half to play. So we've got Spurs coming up next. And by the way, Spurs were crap against Chelsea. Man, they play slow. So obviously they're going to turn into Barcelona when we play them. That's going to happen. Anyway, Spurs up next. Please get that win. And then 4 wins and a draw in the last 5 going into an international break. Bueno. That's what that would be.